Howdy ho, everyone. Back again with what will be, I believe, part 5 of this, massive, haul I got from this local convention. So yeah, feel free to go back and check out parts 1 through 4, I believe this is part 5. I'm also watching Superman, Batman, Public Enemy. Real good movie there. You get tons of good like villain cameos and crossovers, or a bunch of villain appearances. It's like a big battle royale fight in the middle there. But yeah, I recommend that movie for sure. Yeah. So on my last video, this was one of the last books I was talking about. Was Amazing Man. So this is actually his first appearance. I wasn't sure about that. I thought it might have been like issue 22 or 20, 21, whatever. But it is this one. It isn't just his origin. It is his first appearance. And there was a Golden Age Amazing Man, but that was more of a Marvel thing. I think it was like Timely, or it would have been before Atlas. Or isn't it like, it's like Centaur Publications or something crazy like that? I'm not sure, but it was Bill Everett made that character. And then ironically enough, this guy's name, this Amazing Man, his alter ego is Will Everett, or Will Everett Jr., something like that. I know there's a couple Amazing Mans, and one of them is his son or grandson. But this is actually his first appearance, and I just wasn't positive on that, but it is, so I'm happy to own that now, for sure. But, because what All-Star Squadron is basically, it's like the Invaders was from Marvel, how it's, yeah, the book came out in the like 70s for Invaders, but the 80s for All-Star Squadron. However, it's taking place in the Golden Age. So these are Golden Age characters. It's the Justice Society. These events take place in like the 30s to 50s and 40s and 50s. However, these are all new stories. They're all new character creations set to be taking place in the 40s. So this is the first actual Amazing Man. I wasn't sure on that. I didn't know if there had been. I mean, it wouldn't have been a black guy if there was back in the Golden Age, but yeah, sure enough, this is the first DC Amazing Man. So I recommend people pick that up. Cool book. I like that his name is based off Bill Everett. His powers are real goofy. He has like mimicking powers. I know they changed it. One of the modern Amazing Man is just like magnetism or something like that. I don't quite get him. I know I didn't really read too much into that one, but he kind of had like all sorts of powers. He would kind of mimic other heroes, and something about like he can like change his molecules to match stuff. It's kind of like Metamorpho meets, I don't know. But anyway, underrated key right there. So I recommend you guys check out All-Star Squadron. There's a lot of good stories in there. Pretty decent art. Jerry Ordway on this one. But yeah, cool character. I also picked up, what's up, puppy? Are you sweeping? Puppy? Oh, okay. I also got The Wall. There we go. This Art of John Byrne book, which I really just grabbed because Spider-Man was on it, but I don't know, it's a pretty dope book. I think I'll hold on to it. You know, I buy any and all Spider-Man cover appearances, but I do really like, I like John Byrne. I love his FF run. His X-Men stuff is always great. I think he had a pretty hefty Avengers run. Anyway, yeah. Can't remember what else he did. His late 90s run on Spider-Man was okay. It's not my favorite. It would have been a little bit after this, kind of like late 90s, early 2000s maybe. I think I also showed this one in my last video. There's just a $1 pickup. I don't think it's the first Cardiac. I believe he had a few appearances before this. It was like Cardiac, Carnage, Sticks and Stone. Who else was there? They all came out around the same time, like the 350s. I think 350s to 360s. Carnage is like 361. He fought Boomerang. I don't remember what else. So then this one is where Spider-Man lost his cosmic powers. And Spidey goes normal. Yeah, cool. That's an Eric Larson cover. The Tarantula, cool. And I do have all those because I have a full run of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. So I will be selling those. Just when I find them for $1 or less and they're great shape, especially newsstand copies, I will grab those ASMs when I can. And I didn't... The only Crystar book I have is Marvel Age. I think it's the Marvel Age first appearance of Crystar. Which I don't even know. Was that like a... Was it a cartoon they did? Was it a Marvel thing made up just for the comics? Was it like a movie they were gonna make? I really don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say it was probably a shitty 80s cartoon, but I'm really unfamiliar with all of that Crystar, Crystal Warrior crap. Amethyst, all those weird fantasy. I'm not a fantasy guy. Sword and sorcery, I just can't get into it. That whole genre. I don't even like Conan, really. Any of the sword and sandal, swashbuckling, fucking Cimmerian. All those kind of Khazar, King Conan. I just can't get into any of that stuff. John Carter. Especially when they mix a lot of like fantasy and sci-fi with it. It's just not for me. X-Men Messiah Complex. Chapter 1. This is a dope cover. Looks kind of like David Finch. Could easily be Silvestri, but I think it's Finch. Here it is, yeah. It is David Finch. And I don't know who FGD is. Danny Mike. I need to learn what FGD means. Maybe it'll even say. But I collect all X-Men #1s. I'm a sucker for them, even if they're stupid Heroes for Hope things, or Excalibur, or House of X, Powers of Crap, whatever, I'll get it. Let's see. FGD. Oh, it's probably that dude. Frank Darmada. Frank Darmada. I would presume. Yeah. Danny Mickey. Mickey. I don't know how you would say that. Whatever. He used to write for, he used to draw for Image back in the day. I think he was one of the guys in the Extreme Studios grouping. Worked with Liefeld and whatnot. Moving on. Avenging Spider-Man #1. Great series. I really dug Avenging. The art was a little... almost kind of like this guy, Ed McGuinness. You almost get a little bit too cartoony. A little too... I don't know, a little too much. And Batman joins the fight. It's a fucking great movie. I highly recommend Public Enemies. I think it's in the top 10 DC animated features. I don't know if I'd put in the top 5, but it's up there. And then I think 2 parts ago I showed a big Avengers run I got, which a couple of them were new for me. And I mentioned I'm closing in on a full run of Volume 1, which is awesome. Pumped to have that. And luckily, besides issue 100, they're all like in the 300s, so they're all like easy to get dollar bin books. So, but I doubled up on all of the. I got all the Avengers Acts of Vengeance issues, so I will probably sell those as a set. I think Acts of Vengeance is probably my favorite Marvel Universe spanning events they've had. I did like Absolute Carnage, the recent one, but as far as like going back from the old days, you had like Atlantis Attacks, Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Acts of Vengeance. I can think of some DC ones. What else did they do? God, there's so many though. So many of those like summer blockbuster events that crossed over into every title. I'm drawing some blanks right now, but there's tons. I got this. That's a Liefeld book. Oh God, is it ever? Ugh. There's two covers for this. Avengers 5. The other one has them fighting. Same story, of course, but the cover has them fighting in a zoomed out view, like you see most of their bodies. And I own, I think, 2 of that one. I've got one for my Hulk versus box and one for my Thor versus box. And I'm not sure if I ever got this one. I think I had it and got rid of it at once, so it's... What got me started on all my Thor collecting was like Thor versus Hulk mainly, was like my Journey 112 started it all. And then I wanted to get every Hulk Thor fight that came after that. Well, actually Avengers 3 would have been their first fight, but yeah, and I think they fight in Avengers 1. I think there's a brief little, Loki was taking over Hulk, I believe. I think Loki was going around. Now I'm drawing a blank on that. Almost issue 2 maybe, because that was the Space Phantom. He took over like each Avenger's body until he found the Hulk, which was the strongest, and I'm sure him and Thor traded blows at that point. So really, Avengers 1 and 2 is probably their first fighting, but Avengers 3 had a big showdown with them, and then Journey 112 is like a behind the scenes. It's like the fight you didn't get to see from Avengers 3. It's really just Thor sitting down with a bunch of little kids telling them the story. Like, oh, remember that time I fought old Jade Jaws? Oh, sit on my lap, I'll tell you a story. But I've gotten like all of their fights and cover appearances since then. And half the time when they're fighting on the cover, they don't even... Both of them aren't even in the same issue, or they don't fight at all. Or it's real brief. This one is a pretty good fight. I think they go on to say that, like, Thor's kind of kicking his ass, but they kind of goes on, like, the angrier Hulk's getting, they say it in this issue, like, if we were to keep fighting for hours on end like this, for days, like we could go, Hulk would end up winning. Basically, they say, like, if Thor were gonna win, he would need to kill Hulk, like, right away. If not, Hulk's gonna end up winning, because he's just gonna get angrier and angrier and angrier, and Thor will gradually, slowly but surely get a little bit weaker. So, there's been a few of their landmarking fights have set up parameters for, like, hey, Hulk gets angrier, he will eventually win. Or, hey, Thor is stronger, he's been kicking his ass the whole issue, but if he keeps it up, Hulk will eventually kind of, it's like a scales here, like, yeah, Thor's stronger, but eventually he's going to get slightly weaker, get tired, more tired, and Hulk's just going to get angrier and angrier and angrier. But there's been issues where they establish Thor is stronger. Thor would win. Hulk will only win if Thor doesn't win fast. If Thor doesn't go for the kill, which why would he? They're friends, they're just sparring usually. But if Thor doesn't go to end it quickly, he ain't gonna get out of there. And that's what I agree with. I believe Thor is the strongest Avenger. Point break there. I think Thor is the strongest Marvel character. Outside of like Galactus and I guess Scarlet Witch, Hope Summers, Franklin Richards, blah, 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 blah. As far as actual mainstay characters and just on brute strength, and if you throw in his lightning powers and all that shit, Mjolnir and whatnot, Thor really is the strongest in my opinion. But he would have to, I agree that Hulk will eventually beat him if he doesn't do it fast enough. So it would have to be a fight to the death, and it would have to be fast. Catch my breath. This one I picked up in my last video. I think I got issue 1, and I grabbed this. Really, I grabbed it because it was a Daredevil cover appearance. Oh, I don't think he's gonna win this fight. Psylocke should be able to take him. But I looked down, and I'm like, whoa, that's a Thor versus cover. Boom. So, I might need to find 2 of these actually, but my Thor versus my Thor fights trump all my other books, so I have to at least make sure I have one of these for my Thor box, and make sure I have one of these for my Thor box. But if not, I can throw one with Daredevil, I can throw one with Hulk, or I can throw it in my Avengers box. Okay. I collect weird things, and I collect doubles of things, and I have to have one of each in every box, and it's a real pain in the ass. What if Storm of the X-Men had remained a thief? What a bitch would have probably gone to jail, duh. I've never read this What If. I've read a lot of them. I used to have a near full run. It's one of the first runs I bought when I started recollecting comics. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get What If. It would have been like What If Volume 2, or maybe even 3, but whatever this volume is, I got the whole run of it. And I did not read that one. I remember the vampire one. It was like, what if... What was that one? It was like, what if Magneto was Lord of the Vampires? Or what if Wolverine, maybe? I think it's like Wolverine and Jean Grey are on the cover, and one of them's biting one of them. That one's cool. There's so many. I think there's a what if that swipes the Days of Future Past. Spectacular 258. I have the other issue of this where it's these Identity Crisis books. There's 2 covers for each of their... For Spectacular, Amazing, Web, and regular Spider-Man, or Peter Parker Spider-Man, they were calling it at that point. Which gets really confusing for people when there's Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, there's Peter Parker Spider-Man, and then there's Spider-Man. And at one point, the two fused into each other, I think. I might even be saying that wrong, but at one point, the McFarlane, the 90s run, stopped being just Spider-Man. They added Peter Parker to the title. So it sometimes gets confusing where I remember in like, which series do I need this number for? Or which one am I missing? Anyway, they had these, what was it called? The Slingers, I believe? There's like Dusk, Prodigy, Ricochet, and it'll come to me, but for each of those appearances, they had a regular cover, and then there's like one showcasing the character, so like Prodigy on the cover, with just him, or just Dusk on the cover. And then if you get the other cover, it's whatever like page 1 is, I think. So I wasn't sure if I had this or if I had the regular cover that just says Prodigy up there. I don't even know. It's been years since I've looked through these. Those 90s Spider-Man books, so I'm not quite sure which one I'm missing, or if any of them. I might have doubled up. Stuntmaster coming back. Is this Mark Waid? You sure is. He's been doing a lot of Marvel writing. Like, Doctor Strange he's on, and then... Is he doing Invaders, or... No, that's Sardsky's too. Mark Waid's doing a couple things. I've always been on the fence with him. Like, I liked his, He wrote Avengers for a bit, and I liked that. What is he known for me? Flash. He wrote Flash and Superman in the late 90s, I think. I know he had a long run on Flash. That was my introduction to him. But then his Daredevil run for this series, and then I believe there's like that long crossover with Spider-Man and Punisher. It lasted 3 or 4 issues, and Daredevil was in the Fantastic Four, I think. I believe that was Mark Waid storyline. I know he's kind of hit and miss. He's sort of like the 90s Roy Thomas, or, you know, he writes good. He writes in that Marvel manner, and he's a great writer, but I believe some of his personal tastes have held him back. Like, I think he can be a dick sometimes, like it shows, or he won't sign certain things, or he wants to be paid for it. I don't really remember his whole deal. I think the only like rumor thing I had heard was that he was having some beef online with someone, and then he made sure to tell all the other creators at that con to not sign it. Like, showed him pictures of that guy and was like, don't sign anything this guy brings to you. He's an asshole. He's been trolling me on the internet and blah 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 blah. And like, that's just a shitty way to get, if that's even true. It might be bullshit, but you know, with comic community is small, and you kind of, sometimes you take those stories to heart. But other times, you know, whatever. I don't hate the guy. I don't mind him yet. My thing I know him best from is, like, interviews he's done for DC documentaries. Like, I think he's on that Necessary Evil DVD. I know he's on the Secret Origins one. But, I mean, the guy loves comics, and he knows what he's talking about, especially when it comes to comic history. So, I mean, I appreciate him for that, and he's a decent writer, so... Anyway, getting way off topic here, and I think I'm going to wrap this video up. Just wanted to show off this awesome Firelord book. which I have 2 of these. I've got one for my Fire Lord section. I don't have a whole box for Fire Lord because there hasn't been that many appearances. But he's in with my Silver Surfer and Thanos stuff. And whatever other Herald books I got. But Nova might be in there. But anyway, and then I have one for my Avengers run. I didn't realize Spider-Man's on this cover. So I picked up another copy at this show. So I could throw one in my Spider-Man cover crossover box. I love Firelord. He is my favorite Marvel, let's say, anti-hero. Because he's not so much a hero, but he's really not a villain. You know, I certainly don't count him as one of Thor's main villains. He's more of a side character. He's a herald, if you want to narrow it down to anything, but more of an anti-hero. And I think, who else would you put in there? Punisher is up there for me. Spider-Man 2099, in my opinion, is kind of an anti-hero. Basically, any hero that has killed. It's kind of how you get into that vague category. Picked up this. I picked this up just because it was a cool Kang cover. I don't think there's anything too special about it. Just a dope-ass Kang book. This might have been kind of an era where I believe Kang's son came into play. And then I think I have the one where he dies. I'm not sure, but when you're dealing with Kang, you're dealing with time travel and different timelines and Rama Tut and Immortus and all that crap. They're all the Reed Richards. It's all the same guy, supposedly. So, this is one I pulled out for my friend to get, but he didn't take it. So I grabbed it. I've already got this book. I think this is a solid dollar book. If you can find this in the dollar, then pick it up, man. This is Medieval Avengers. Donor, Iron Knight, Gypsy Witch, and Yeoman America. My dialect is not right on those, but cool. That's a dope cover. I'll probably sell this on my page for $2. Looks like it's a painted cover. Looks cool. Old Busiek. Now I know not to call him Kurt Busiek. It's still so hard to say it. To get out of that habit. And I'm still gonna say Perez until I die, but I guess it's Perez. George Perez. Whatever. Kurt Busiek. It just doesn't seem right. And then I've learned from him that it's the John and Sal Buscema. I was talking about this in my last video. And I learned that because it's pronounced the same way he pronounces his. So Busiek and Buscema is the correct way to be saying that. Not Buscema, like I've always said, or Buscema, or Buscem, whatever. I don't know. Buscema. It's Buscema. Alright, some cool Batman books from Batman Reborn. What did I get? 688 and 690. Reminds me of the Batman Jim Lee Hush cover, but definitely not. Mark Bagley, eh? Mark Bagley! I like Mark Bagley. He's another dude, I don't know, doesn't get enough love. Underrated artist for sure. I think he's gotten more respect lately because of Carnage being all hot this last year, but yes, he basically just gets grouped in with, yeah, I co-created Carnage. I did a bunch of Venom and Carnage covers of Spider-Man in the 90s. I know there's that pull-out poster from one of those foil books or whatever it was, those Border anniversary issues. I know he did like the poster to one of those. That's something he often has people ask him to sign, but yeah, cool to see him on Batman. Last one I'm gonna show off, or this 266 was one of the ones I needed for my full run, so happy to get that. And then this I already have multiple doubles of, but it's like the origin of Star Fox, or Star Fox joins the Avengers, and that's Thanos' brother, Eros, I believe. Alright guys, thanks for watching.